All right, we are officially recording now. Welcome, everybody. We always do a little introduction for the folks who are going to be joining or watching this video later. Apparently, there's quite a number of people who do watch these videos later. So thank you very much for that. This is the Beyond the Track. We go through our little intro here. I'm Claudio La Sala. You can find me on the internet as a three-lap rider, as well as Beyond the Track, just to put things in context, because I always like doing that. You have my track riding experience and just motorcycle riding experience up there. So I always make sure to state that, because sometimes people see videos like this on the internet and they think, oh, that's the specialist. No, that's not the specialist, right? I'm just recently graduated, I would say, from Novice. That's how I put it. I'm still, so much to learn. It's not even funny. Always big thanks to the BTT supporters on Patreon. It does help us, just make sure that we are helping out people out there, and people do take time to, support us through Patreon, as well as joining us here. So big thanks to the guys who are joining us live tonight, as well as people who are going to be watching this later. That's much appreciated. Otherwise, it's just me talking to the camera. That's never fun. What is the Beyond the Track? So the Beyond the Track was an idea that came to mind in early 2018 after my first year of track riding, that, you're packing up your stuff and, getting out of the track, and you're already feeling like, I need to ride more, but I can't afford riding more. How else can I actually get better at riding? Can I do anything enhance beyond the track? What can I do beyond the track to become a better rider? So it first started as a community, right? So getting people together in a classroom to share experiences, the things that we've learned the hard way, sometimes at the track, sharing that with other people who are just getting started, or people who have been doing it for a while and can give us some pointers. So whenever you are at the track and you find a banner like that for the Beyond the Track, pretty much every single rider at the track, very friendly. You can always ask people for help. That's awesome. With the Beyond the Track guys, everybody will just go that, extra mile to help you out even deeper. So make sure to stop by, whenever you see these friendly faces, and, just chat. So we do this in person when that's an option. Of course, with the current pandemic, we've been going virtual and, just chatting here over Skype. It's another way for us to stay connected and, keep sharing. All these meetings are recorded, so you can go up on the beyondthetrack.net website and find all of these videos. There's over like 33 hours worth of just free content that you can go and check it out. You can become a patron. Track, as $2 a month. If you're riding a motorcycle at the track and you tell me you can't, you are
Hey, Claudio, you still there? You seem to have cut out for just a second, bro.
we are not making any money, making a living out of it. If you're not in Jerez in Spain right now, it means that you're not a MotoGP racer, right? So you're not a pro. You probably have a daily job, right? So by the time you are hitting the track, oh, I'm getting a lot of background noise here. Yeah. All right, I may have to mute you guys for the time being, just to get rid of the background noise for a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So we do want to make sure that we have our minds clear to actually be able to ride. And how do we do that? One way is by keeping track of the costs, because this is a very expensive sport, right? So if you know how much you're spending on it, you can actually plan ahead of time. You can figure out your budget. You can figure out where you can cut certain things or optimize certain things so that you get to ride more. Just, use your mind, use your brain. So we have tools for that. We have tools for, checklists. You don't want to get to the the track, you're all excited to ride, and you forgot the keys to your bike, or you forgot your tire warmers, or whatever it is that you need to just have the peace of mind to ride. All right, so checklists, we have an area to do track day plans so that when we go out to the track, figure out what you're going to be working on. Are you going to be working on trail brake? If so, what corners? Right? Think about it. Are you going to be working on, improving your line? How are you going to go about it? Right? So write those beforehand so that by the time you get to the track, you know what you're going to be working on. You can actually go with deliberate practice. Let's check what's coming up here in the chat window. Just making sure that the chat window is up and running. Here we go. Excellent. Hello, James. We also have the track day debrief, which is, by the time you get back home from the track, write up your findings, your experiences, put up your videos, put up like some timestamps on certain things you have on the video. Maybe you were following a buddy of yours, so you can just send that link to your buddy later so that he can see, he or she can see, their writing, which helps with learning quite a bit, right? And that's it. And there's like more tools that we're going to be building and adding to the site as we go. So that's part of it. Now, tonight, this is the part of the community part where we get together and we share experiences. Thanks to Michael who proposed this topic. The idea that, as we start from our very first track day, and then, you get so excited, you get addicted, and then you're going more often to the track, and you want to make sure that you are making progress, you're going to start as a novice, right? It doesn't matter if you've had riding experience prior to it, like I did before I started track riding, and that's part of my experience already, right? So like 20 years street riding, I get to the track, I think, oh, what, there's 3 levels, novice, intermediate, advanced. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go like this all the way up to advanced, like first day. Of course, I've been doing this for so many years. Oh boy, was I wrong, right? I was like pretty much lost on the track. If I could like ride with a GPS just to know where the track was going, it was going to be a lot better. But bottom line was just the fact that you know how to ride on the street does not make you go fast on the track. Quite the opposite. My personal experience, I came with so much baggage, so much bad habits from the street. And as I was riding on the track, I was pretty much doing everything the way we do on the street, which is very different, right? As much as you normally do on the track, it's part of the track riding experience. So that was part of my experience. I've heard from people who just started riding at the track. They're starting from a blank slate, so they don't have all this extra baggage. So they actually end up getting much better, much faster, way quicker than people that, come from too many years of street riding. So regardless of what organization you're riding with, you have novice, intermediate, advanced. Some parts of the country, some orgs will call the C group, the B group, the A group, A being the fastest. Other orgs will say level 1, level 2, level 3. And others just come up with, fancy, funny names for the groups. But that's the bottom line, right? You start from novice, you work your way through intermediate, and then you go up to advanced. Now, the way I've structured this, so we have we have Jesse, we have Michael, we have Earl and Garrett on the call. They all were really nice to put together some content based on their experience. So guys, is this order that I have up, does this work for you? Jesse going first, then Michael, then Earl and Garrett? You guys good?
Yep. That works.
Yep.
Sure, that's
all right.
good for me. Save the best for last.
Oh, come on.
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so Jesse, go for it, man. Make sure that you unmute yourself. And by the way, congratulations, Jesse, for getting promoted this weekend. Now he's
Jesse, so proud of you, bro.
Cheer bite. Cheer bite. I love this machine.
Sweet. Very cool. Let's see. Jesse, you're muted, man.
Yeah, just got to unmute.
Hello.
There you go.
Okay. So yeah, to start it off, my name is Jesse. I just started about almost a year ago. I started riding, or not riding motorcycles. 21. I've only been doing it. I started a cruiser. Had that for a couple. I moved up sports bike, and then from there I had the idea of wanting. Oh, stand by.
Mhm. Whoa. What happened?
I think you switched his audio up a little bit there.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Look.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have you back.
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I went off the. I guess my mic was missing. Okay, so to start, I got a sports bike, and then I started track riding. I started track riding on a leader bike, which was a huge ordeal. And so I've realized that track riding is a whole lot different than riding on the street like Claudio was talking about. And I was actually very comfortable. The bike that you see me riding now is my GSX-R 1000, and I was very comfortable on that bike on the street. So from there, I realized that the power was too much for me to learn. So I ended up getting me a 09 Ninja 250. That Ninja 250 was primarily for me to start learning all the basics. There was too much power for me to try to figure out all the fundamental things like body position, timing, braking, everything. And so then I decided using that to practice. And, one thing that you'll have to learn at the track riding is that everybody is doing their own thing. They're learning their own way at their own speed, and it is always your ride. If you go in there thinking that you're going to be fast, or you just want the feeling of adrenaline, you could end up hindering your learning curve because of it. You should go there. Track riding is so different compared to riding the street. You should go there just ready to learn and be open to it, rather than, just ready to be so aggressive, because the aggression comes later once you're ready to go that fast. From there, this was the first weekend I decided to hop back on my 1000, because I felt like it was honestly on a whim. I decided, hey, it's been quite a long time since I've been on my 1000 on the track. So let's see and let's go. Another thing that I did, let's say that I did about almost 8 track days in level 1. And that was on my 250, or not on my 1000, but then I did my 250 probably at the last 2, and then I got bumped up to level 2. From there, I only did probably two track days in level 2 on my 250, and then I decided to do this one on my 1000. So this weekend, I just decided, in between that time, I ended up meeting Earl and Garrett at the Katy track, getting me a mini bike, because I realized that I needed more seat time, but I wanted to really work on some of the fundamentals. And luckily, I met Claudio, and Claudio had a mini bike, and then I met Michael, and Michael had a mini bike, and then I realized, you know what, maybe I should get me a mini bike because I really need to practice, and that's what I decided on doing. And then I, blew my whole world out the window and realized that mini bikes are so fun and they're so useful for so many things. It helped me get a whole lot better riding, just conditioning, body position, speed, in general. It helped me break some of the fears that I had, learning to take proper line. Lean angle was a big one. I was, for the longest, pretty scared to drag knee or even get close to the ground. When you feel like you're getting pretty low, you realize that you're not low at all. And, you don't notice that until after the track day and you see those pictures. And, if you see in the picture on the screen, my top one, I felt like I was 2 inches away from the floor when I'm straight up and down. So yeah, I didn't, with all the practicing, I'm one of those guys that when I put my mind to something, when I want to focus something, I am relentless about it. I will practice and practice and practice and focus on technique, and I will always be thinking about technique even while writing. And I've made a big difference. And so me going into level 2, after all the training with the mini bikes, I went there and I was so used to some of the things that I have already felt on the mini bike. When I hopped on my big bike and I just had to adjust to the power, I was already a lot quicker than most of the people out there. Given I've been going to MSRH for quite a while, so I was very accustomed to the lines and the whole track. But when I realized Saturday, because this past weekend is when I got bumped up, when I realized Saturday, I felt like I was in maybe the middle of the pack. I was with James, so we saw some people faster than us, and I felt that I was like, okay, today is for me to focus, get used to my bike, get better, and just go with it, get more comfortable. By the end of the day, we were feeling pretty quick. Sunday rolls around. By the end of Saturday, Michael and Ben and James, they were kind of hinting to me that I was getting quicker. And, to me, I would prefer to humble myself and tell myself I'm slow the whole time. And tell myself when I feel ready, I will ask to move up. But maybe I should go see an instructor and see what they think. Maybe there's things I need to work on before I just go ahead and let myself think that I need to move up. So I ended up going, and on Sunday, and James and I had a mentor follow us, and we ended up doing very well. I actually, it was after lunch, and the session on Saturday after lunch was our best session, and I felt really good after that. And this just so happened to be my best session for me, and he was pretty happy. One thing I can say is that he did promote me to level 3, but I did not feel like, I don't know how some people will feel, but I did not feel like I was at level 3 pace. But that's just one of the things that you may learn. Talking to Michael, talking to Ben, talking to Claudio, our times were not that different, but that's not what makes you a level 3 candidate. It's your predictability, your lines, what is.
Jesse, I will say a lot of the instructors, the folks that are really good, will challenge you. And they wouldn't do it if they didn't believe in you. So if you're doing some things right, then they want you to do those things even better. And that's what they saw in you. They would never put you in danger. So even if you, and believe me, it happened to me. When I went from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 years ago. So, bro, that's good on you, man.
Oh yeah, that's good. I actually that's one of the things that I did realize is that I'm right there at that learning curve, and that when he told me to move up to level 3, there's nothing more but more learning. You'll get faster. You can be around people that are close to your skill set, get a toe, speed up, learn some techniques, change. It pretty much just opened up more information to me because of it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it right now. Pretty much I have to rethink my whole idea on it, on what's to go next, what to start working on. And I've looked at some of the pictures. I'm happy with what I look like, but there was already things that I want to start working on more that I felt like I was missing out there. And then, luckily for the instructor, he told me some things. He's like, it's just devil's in the details now at this point. Just start looking at things that you're not happy with or you're not comfortable with and keep working on them and move on to other things. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah, I remember when I was in level 2, was it? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. So I did ask an instructor to follow me and just see if I was okay to go into level 3, even though I was not like, oh, I need to go in. It's just let me see where the bar is and see where do I need to get better. And my lap, the one that the instructor was following me, I was turning like a 202 lap or something like that because it was on a session right after somebody went out in a keyhole. So there were like all these cones at a very weird thing, like right in the middle of the line, and you had to go around the cones, and that threw me off for a loop. It's like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? It's so weird. But still, what the instructors are really looking at is, are you, like you said, are you staying, on the line? Can you hold the line around the whole lap consistently, right? Do you hit the marks at every lap? Are you predictable? And are you in control? Because, yeah, there are some guys out there who are really, really fast, but holy cow, it looks like they're going to crash at every corner, right? Very like jerky on the throttle control, on the brakes. Those don't get promoted because like it's a liability to have those guys, among the fast riders out there. So yeah, and I mean, from seeing you riding, you've been like working, refining your skills. It makes all the sense. Like I mentioned I think in text messages, maybe when I got bumped, I did ride like maybe 2 sessions that day in level 3, but I decided to go like another maybe 10 track days or so in level 2 because my focus was going to be to work on passing, because I knew if I went up to 3 and I stayed in 3, I was going to get passed way more than I would have the possibility to pass. So I said, okay, I'm not strong at passing. I mean, I'm still not, right? So I just stayed in level 2 for quite some time just to work on passing skills and get better at that, getting comfortable with like getting out of my ideal line, right? Braking later and things like that, which at least to me, it throws my mind for a loop, right? If I have to move my brake markers and my turning points and stuff like that, I still feel a little bit uneasy at tracks such as MSRH. At COTA and at ECR, not so much, because pretty much the entire track is fair game. Now at MSRH, you want to make sure that you're not hitting some seams, the bumps, and some real nasty parts of the track that don't have traction anymore. It scares the crap out of me. But anyways, thanks a lot for sharing that, Jesse. That's very cool, and congratulations again, man. You did awesome. Very cool. All right, so Michael, you're up next, my friend.
Hey guys. There we go. The mute's off. So we'll see how much of an echo I have here.
Sounding good so far.
Okay.
Uh-oh, we lost you. No, it's showing it. Oh,
There we go.
there.
Hope we have some audio back there.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, Claudio asked me a few pictures I posted you up here. Like many in a level 2 and 3 rider. Let me turn my volume down here. Okay. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Anyway, the upper left corner was an interesting photo when Claudio asked me to look for something. That is Oak Hill racetrack that no longer exists. That was my first track day in Texas with Lone Star Track Days. That is my CBR 929 track bike, and that was the only track day that bike ever did, because after that track day, it sat so long it rotted itself to death, and I couldn't figure out how to make it run again. So I have one picture of that at a track day at a glorified go-kart track. That was a big bike to be riding on a go-kart track, but hey, it was fun. I love motorcycles. So I've been riding most of my life since I was probably about Garrett's age there. Dirt bikes and things like that, and then onto street bikes for the majority of my life. And the last 5 or 6 years, I really started riding track days with met y'all here in various aspects, mini bikes at the track, Garrett and Earl, you guys are awesome giving me feedback. So as you come up through the ranks, you learn different things along the way. The other picture is me at MSRH in level 1 on my blue Suzuki, the bike I still have today, but it looked more like a looked like a stock bike at that point. That was my ex-girlfriend's bike. She rode it 20 miles, fell over in the street, and never got back on it. So that sort of became my, what am I going to do with this bike? Well, let's take it to the track. So it's all good. It got some use.
Best use of an ex's property.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's Old Faithful too.
She might not recognize it now. But this is a good example of Blair Hart photography, showing you the things you do wrong. And this particular picture here was level 1. And how can you tell I'm in level 1? Look where my front tire is. Yes, I have my knee on the ground, but that really isn't a telling. It's not a symptom of going fast. It's just something that happens. But look where my front tire is. One, it's on the seam between the concrete and the asphalt. And look where the candy stripe is. Last week when Jesse and I were running MSRH, my body was over the candy stripe every single lap. No, I take that back. I did pass someone in that corner, so I went out wide and went around them. But these are the telling things about how are you progressing? What do you learn in level 1? What do you learn in level 2? What do you learn in level 3? And this is a great example of level 1. The prior picture was me. I don't even know what level I was in. It was just, I'm going to do my first track day and hopefully I survive. Obviously, my knee is nowhere near the ground at that point. I certainly did not have that skill at that point. So we move on to level 2, and what do I learn in level 1? Well, I learned, I've been to the racetrack. I know how to register. I know how to get my bike through tech and hopefully make the call to the grid and go out with the other people. And in level 1, you then learn, this is the track. This is roughly where I turn. This is where I go straight. And usually you're following a bunch of other riders. You are told not to pass anybody. In the afternoon, maybe you can pass on straightaways, but it's pretty much go out and follow the leader. And one of the things I remember about level 1 is it's kind of like riding on the street, where you'd go out and you want to ride corners, you want to use your brakes, you want to lean the bike, and you drive all day. You eventually find a corner somewhere on a street, because there generally aren't any. And then you end up behind some stupid car going slightly over the speed limit, which is a third of what the bike's capable of doing. And you're just getting angry the whole time. It's like, get out of the way. I want to go. Let me go. Then you realize, go to the racetrack. It's all corners all the time. You're not watching for cops, dogs, gravel. None of that matters. It's all about you and riding. And level 1, the one thing I remember from level 1 was always getting stuck behind slower riders and being told, no, don't pass, only pass on straightaways. And so,
but Michael
really kind of exists for the track day provider to find out, Are you safe? Are you predictable? Do you present a threat because you're a complete idiot? And then they'll promote you to level 2 at some point once they're confident that you have the basics down, you don't have really bad habits, and you don't present a tremendous risk to anybody else. And I probably did 10 track days in level 1 before I moved on, just because it took me a long time to get comfortable at doing that. Especially when you only did 4 or 5 track days a year, you don't get a whole lot of practice. So then going around the clock here in the pictures, that's me on my touring bike at Texas World. I was in level 2 at that point and decided I want to challenge myself a little bit more. So I took my 1400 with the giant muffler on it and the giant fairing, and I went out and muscled that bike all day long. I even rode that bike to the track in level 2. At that point, it was a lot of people on the racetrack in level 2, but I now knew where to brake. I was conscious of when to apply power and when not to apply power. That's 1400 cc's. I used that engine on that day. It was a lot of fun, but man, it can generate a lot of speed. And when you can generate a lot of speed, you have to generate a lot of braking as well. It was tiring. It's like doing push-ups all day. Jesse was awesome to let me take his bike out for an entire session this weekend. Normally I ride the SV650, which has no appreciable horsepower. It's a great bike. It handles well, but it only goes 115 miles an hour. So when you get on different bikes, you learn different things and you achieve different things that you hadn't experienced before. The big Kawasaki was getting on the track and learning, now I have way more power than I need. So these are kind of the milestones you go through progressing through the ranks. That in level 1, one of the things I noticed, you're stuck behind other riders and you get on the straights and you accelerate up to street speed, 60, 70 miles an hour, and then you kind of coast. So you're going down the straight because it's new to you. You think, wow, I'm going 85 miles an hour. I'm about ready to die here. I've never done this before. And you kind of roll off the throttle at that point. And you're planning for the next corner. Where am I going to brake for the next corner? You're not really taxing the bike at that point. And as you get in through level 1, level 2, and work your way up, you learn new skills. So, Claudio changed the slide on me. Sorry, I was kind of reading through it. I need my reading glasses. But yeah, you learn the basics in level 1, and then you start pushing those limits and taking it a little bit further. One of the things I did learn in level 1, as you start to progress and you start to lean the bike more, Jesse was talking about, yeah, on your first track days, you feel like you're leaning the bike over, but man, when you get on camera, dude, you're nobody. You're just cruising around the track. Yeah. But eventually that gets better and you start leaning the bike over a little bit more. And then you get to the point where you can't shift your bike when you need to because you're leaned over in a corner and you want to shift the bike because it's over revving for some reason because you forgot to shift properly before you got to the corner. And you're going around the corner at red line and you're having to hold it there because you can't upshift. The lever is close to the ground. You can't get your foot under it to shift. So at that point, level 1, most people start shifting their bike over to GP shift and continuing that way. Sometimes your bike can't do that. And I will go out and ride supermoto on a dirt bike with street tires. And I hate it because the shift lever comes right out of the engine. There's no linkage. You can't reverse it. You're stuck with a street bike pattern. And it's hard for me to switch back and forth. I'm used to GP shift. I've been using it for a while. And switching bikes, I go into a corner and have to stop and think, oh, wait, do I need to pull up or pull down? And it's like you've already missed your shift point. And if you pick it wrong, you're going to over-rev the bike, which... it's not the end of the world, but it's not the best thing for the engine to rev up to 20,000 RPM all of a sudden. So that's one of the things I did in level 1. It's a good thing I progressed a little bit, but it's also a double-edged sword because I can't ride anything else. Street bikes, it's not a problem because you're not shifting quickly on a street bike. You have plenty of time to think about things. And progressing as a track rider, it's interesting to go back to riding on the street because I have a lot of skills now that, wow, I really wished I had them 20 years ago. I remember street bike crashes out on the road, and I'd go around a corner too fast, and all of a sudden, my brain thought, I'm going too fast. I'm not going to make this corner. I'm literally going to run off the road and crash. And with track day skills now, I ran into that last year when I was riding a street bike, and I actually got to a corner, and I couldn't see all the way through the corner as well as I would have liked. And I realized I'm too hot into this corner. All I did was drop my head. I made the corner with plenty of time to spare. All I did was shift my body position a little bit on the street, and it was a non-issue. 20 years ago, I would have done that. I probably would have crashed. So the skills you develop early track riding, they become habits, fortunately. Being at the high end of your skill level, that's a habit you lose if you don't practice it. But getting the fundamentals done, those tend to follow you for the rest of your life if you can lose those habits. I still have some bad habits that I'm working on, but anyway. Let's go on to the next slide, Claudio.
Sure.
Okay, so we're in level 2 at this point on the track. I actually can't read my own slide because I'm blind.
Make it bigger.
Thank you, sir. So yes, level 2. The next item we start doing in level 2 is using more of the track, and this is really funny because I put that as a marker of progressing through level 2, because it's something I actually am trying to get away from in level 3 at this point. So I've been to the California Superbike School, and the immediate contact from the coaches were, you got to stop swooping around the track. You're using all of the track when you don't have to. But in level 2, as I started going faster, I started using more of the track. I started setting up for turns from the outside to give myself a bigger radius to go through the corner, and then get on the power and use all the track coming out so you can better drive down the straight. Those are all great concepts, but you have to know when to use them and when not to use them. So I'm sure Earl and Garrett, I'll try to get through this because I really want to hear your feedback. You guys are probably going to say things I'm going to go, oh, awesome. I hadn't thought about that. But anyway, level 2, the other thing that we were talking about earlier is getting comfortable being passed. When you're a new level 2 guy, you're the slowest person out there. As you progress through level 2, you become the piranha in the goldfish tank, and you're passing other people. So it's a give and take, learning to pass people and also get comfortable that when you get passed, you don't panic. Because if you panic, you do something unpredictable, there's other people on the track you could screw up. So that's more about learning to be safe. Item 3 here was really body position, starting to use your body. Because you saw those pictures in level 1. You're sitting centered in the bike. Your butt's in the middle of the seat. Maybe you're sticking your knee out. That's good to start with and make some progress. But you got to move past that. And then you start to move your head, kiss the mirror. Put your elbow where your knee is so they're actually in the same place. So we get into using body position a heck of a lot more in level 2. Again, some people go through level 2 in no time, like Jesse there, and is just a prodigy ready for level 3 because he had good habits built early. But I had to unlearn a lot of things in level 2 to go faster because I had 30 years of street bike riding experience and almost no track riding. The other thing I started to see in level 2 was using my rev range. Remember, I was talking about level 1, you're kind of coasting. You get up the freeway speeds on the straight, and then you go to the turn and get ready early, but you're not pushing the engine. In level 2, I started using the rev range. I'm shifting at red line. I remember a lot of coaches saying, get on the beans, get on the beans on the straight, be accelerating, always be accelerating. That's how you get faster. You're just giving away time if you're coasting. So I really worked on revving the bike, redlining the engine, and always keeping it at red line, so I'm always accelerating. So the other thing I noticed in level 2 was there's other riders out there. There are guys ready to go to level 3, and there are guys fresh from level 1. And expect the unexpected. If you don't know the other people on the track, you may be coming up behind a guy that still has a crappy line and is all over the place. Expect the unexpected. Follow them. Watch what they're doing. Learn what their weaknesses and what their strengths are. Because if you're keeping up with them, you're probably at least as fast as they are. But sometimes they're fast because they're on a leader bike. Sometimes they're fast because they're just exceedingly brave and they're willing to take bigger risks than you. But if you can keep up with them comfortably, learn from them, watch what they're doing well, learn what they're not doing well, because you don't want to try to make a pass if they're using a weird line. I've had fast people using really weird lines before, and they'll swoop back to the apex from outside unexpectedly, and if you tried to pass them on the inside while they're swooping in, they would have taken you out. So they need to be predictable if you're going to do something like passing. So started working on that. Towards the end of level 2, I started paying more attention to my tires. What kind of wear am I getting on my tires? And I started to notice, well, I used to get 13 track days out of a tire. Now I'm getting 7 days out of a tire before it's completely destroyed. Pay attention to your tires. I never had traction problems, but it's also feedback. If your tire's not lasting as long, you're riding harder, which is good feedback. And I think the final thing down there was lap times, talking about that. Level 2, the other thing I noticed, you're with a lot of other riders of different skill levels. And what I noticed on my lap times was I lap to lap, I'd have a really good time, and then another one would be 4 seconds a lap slower. And then I'd have a really good time again. And then I'd go like 2 seconds faster on a lap. And when I watched video and looked at my data logger and everything else, the thing I hadn't realized in level 2 is you have a range of riders, you're getting stuck behind other riders, and they're affecting your lap time. So you're not out there doing your personal best lap times. You're out there riding with other riders and learning to manage other people's skill level. One, so you don't crash. You're also looking for opportunities to learn to pass, but it's not necessarily going to show up in your lap time. So if your lap time is your marker of how well you're doing, it can be a little misleading in level 2 when you're using that. So did I have any others on there, Claudio? I think that was the last one.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, and then I'll go on to the last one and try to get through that one quickly, because I haven't been in level 3 very long, so I don't have a whole lot of experience.
Can you read it?
Level 3. So this one, this was something I learned from watching the NASCA videos that Claudio started posting. And they also teach this at California Superbike School. And the first item is get your body set up ahead of time. When you get to the corner and you need to start turning the bike in, that's not the time to move your body. The time to move your body is while you're still braking and getting ready for the corner. Then when you turn the bike in, your body's already where it needs to be. So I started working on that in level 3 and in California Superbike School. Second thing I've learned in level 2, everybody is so damn fast in there, because you got the racers in there, experienced riders. Everybody that's not going to make it in motorcycling is already washed out at this point. So you learn always be accelerating. When I say accelerating, I mean accelerating up, and I mean accelerating down on the brakes. I also mean accelerating around corners. So start focusing. You have the fundamentals in place. Your body position's probably good. Now you're focusing on, can I keep the bike always braking, always accelerating, always cornering, and getting closer to the edge at that point. Third thing I learned is get your body lower to the ground. We look at Marquez and we think, oh, that's the model. It's easy to look at that and identify that, but understanding why he's doing what he's doing is a different thing. But anyway, you get started with the idea of getting lower on the bike, getting your center of gravity lower. And Marquez does some awesome things that are not intuitive why he does them. There are better videos for you to go watch that and understand what it is. But you get to level 3 here, and you start having those opportunities. One, because there's a lot less people on the track. You don't have the slower riders slowing you down. You're not spending time passing other riders, because when you first get to level 3, there's fewer people, there's fewer opportunities to pass. There aren't people holding you up. Now you're riding at your personal, closer to your personal limit. So you can keep pushing a little bit more. Now your lap times are much closer lap to lap. Your position on track, unless there's someone in your way, you're probably going to have the same line around the track lap after lap. You're hitting your reference points more consistently in level 3 because you're a better rider, but also because the track allows you to do that because you're out there with people that aren't in your way. And the last item I had here was pick your passing spots on track. And that's something I learned from riding with faster riders. Where are they passing me? Because they pass me quite frequently. But I watch where and how they pass me. And then I can learn from that and apply that, hopefully in the future when there's somebody for me to pass, because there's nobody right now. But well, occasionally you get someone on a slower bike out there, like a KTM 390. Yeah, I can pass them. If you're on a Ninja 250, I can keep up and pass you. So I learn from the faster riders, and then I emulate and practice that myself. And then hopefully I can talk to other people that are better riders, the racers in the group here, and get more tips for them and start progressing there. So that's kind of been my approach through the 3 levels and kind of the things I've experienced in those 3 levels. And I hope to continue to do that. So anyway, that's all I have to say about 3 levels of riding. We included street riding and just learning on your first track day as well. So maybe that's 4, being a street rider. Okay, I'll turn it over to Earl and Garrett there, because you guys are the real track riders. No street bikes, dedicated machinery. And I bet you guys are spending tons of time talking about the kind of stuff we're just trying to delve into on these meetings.
No, can you guys hear me first off? Everything good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, Michael, right, first off, you, Claudio, Jesse, the progress that I've seen you guys make is amazing. Like, seriously, like I'm not just saying that. I really do mean it. I mean, I rode the street for 25 years, and I echo everything you said, Michael. And the one thing that I wanted to go back on to what you said is there is this programmatic thing in our brains about getting things in sequence before you do something, right? So whether my first track day at MSRH, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew how to ride a bike, but I didn't know when tech was. I didn't know what was supposed to go when, where, how. I just went, and that messed with me so much so that it affected my riding. But I told myself that when it came to Garrett, I was going to teach him everything fundamentally right in terms of the mental piece, and then it all translates down to the asphalt. So you had it dead on in terms of like behavioral sequence and the sequential behavior programming that our minds do. You got to do it every single day, whether it's brushing your teeth, sipping a cup of coffee, whatever it is that you do every single day. But that translates to the track, because when you do that, when you translate that into a approach into a corner, when you translate that into an exit, or translate that into a drift on turn one in coda before you turn into the hairpin, because that's no one's expecting that. It's all about mental programming. So anyway, but yeah, so kudos on you, man. You hit the nail on the head on that one. So yeah, let's just go ahead and go through it. And I'll just go ahead and hit the high points, and then I'll let Garrett talk about his experiences. Like I said, guys, I rode the street for so long, and it was so hard for me to unlearn the habit. It's like a golf swing. And once you learn it the bad way, you're never gonna unlearn it. If you do, you're lucky, right? And you break par. So anyway, yeah, let's just go into it.
Sure.
All right, so beyond the fundamentals, you guys are all experts in my mind. I say that because I am just a dad on the sidelines. Yeah, every now and then I put on a suit and I pretend like I'm a superhero, but I'm really not. But beyond the fundamentals, I'll just go through the high level tire trust and committing to the turn, and the drag, friction, focus field, and throttle. And I'll let Garrett kind of speak to what he thinks about it. So, tire trust.
All right, it's my turn. Okay. So yeah, using the appropriate compound for each race, it's pretty much kind of like switching to rain tires in wet conditions. Using soft tires for more grip, and then using hard tires like in super hot Texas weather. So your tires don't just wear down crazy, like at the Katy track. They just eat through your tires, and it's just crazy. So a hard compound tire would do great there. But me personally, I use a soft in the rear and a medium soft in the front. That works for me. The front and rear tire pressures, that really plays a part in how well you ride and how much traction you have. Because whenever you have like a super high PSI in your tires, it's like riding on marbles. You have no traction whatsoever, and it's just you're slipping, sliding everywhere, and it's just no traction. You're just wobbling. The tire sidewall bubble is whenever you are riding at a high PSI.
So I'll take this one because I added this one in. So I'll take this one. I'm guilty of when I told you guys that I ride the street, or I rode the streets for so long. I used to ride with the Star Boys when they first started stunt riding. That was back, God, in the 90s. And everybody said, look for the first settle. It was the first settle. And I said, I don't know what the heck that even means. And then when you find, and nowadays they call it balance point. When you find a wheelie in balance point, the bike settles. There's two bubbles. You settle once, you settle twice, depending on the bike, right? On the track, there's a side bubble. When you find that bubble, which is what that bottom picture, actually both those pictures tell you, it's when he hit those bubbles. The only way to hit those bubbles is getting pressure, right? Because what you're doing is you're pushing the tire down so far, and you made a great point earlier, Mike. It's you go through tires so much, but if you're doing it right. And the reason you're doing it right is because you are hitting that bubble every single time. When you hit that lean angle, when you hit body position versus lean angle, and you hit that bubble, you know, you think you're going to slide out. You think that retire, that's where the tire trust comes in. So that's the one thing that I've told Garrett over and over and over again to get faster and faster in the corners is to trust that tire bubble. Sorry, I didn't take your...
Okay, it's all right. So what do you trust and why? You just pretty much trust everything. Trust your bike, trust yourself, trust your tire, just everything. Committing to the turn. Entry point and the launch out of the turn is so crucial to how improving your lap times. The entry point varies from different tracks and different riders. It's different for everybody. For going faster, you really do want a late entry point. So you start like from the edge of the track and then you swing in. That's like what Michael said, using the whole track. That was...
When you swing in,
you just turn in to the turn. So
are you talking about rear braking, or are you talking about...
No, that's where you just turn in.
Okay.
Launch out of turn, whenever you hit the apex and you just roll on the throttle. Don't get on it too hard, but like controlled throttle. I don't know how to put it. Just controlled throttle maintenance.
It's maintenance throttle. We'll cover that.
Yeah. Drag friction, knee, elbow, and shoulder down. It helps for me because it's an extra point of balance for me. But some people, it doesn't exactly work out because it's an extra point of friction that's slowing you down throughout the turns.
Which is actually something that Claudio told me that I never thought about. Right. The very first time I met Claudio, you told me, and Mike, I think you were there too, and you probably told me this because you guys were there together, is that, yeah, everybody focuses so much on dropping a knee, dropping an elbow, dropping a shoulder, whatever. But, okay, that's cool, but what are you really doing? You know? I mean, are you adding friction, or is your focus to where you just want to go and the throttle goes around the corner and the bike's leaning so far where your contact with your knee and the elbow and the asphalt is just incidental as opposed to on purpose.
Right, yeah. Speaking to that point, look at this photo, right? So there are two MotoGP bikes on the track. There are two riders. One is a pro rider, the other one is a track day rider, right? So the guy behind, that's Lewis Hamilton. He's, a 6-time F1 champion. He's got a nice triangle of light, right? So that's what we hear in level 1, right? Look at Rossi. Look at where his knee actually is, right? There's no dragging. There is, pushing the bike up to just get the heck out of that corner.
Yep.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Excellent.
Yeah, and honestly, I brought that into his lessons after talking to you guys, because I was like, that makes so much sense.
Hey.
So, dude, yeah. And now look at him. So anyway, so Folksfield, in terms of how far ahead do you look? I always do one corner ahead, but I always steady track. But I'll let Garrett speak to that.
So how far I look ahead, you can see in the bottom right picture, I am looking just straight in front of me. But in the top right picture, I'm really looking out of the corner of my helmet visor, looking past that one turn, and right after that turn, there's a straight. So I'm looking at the turn that comes after the straight in that picture right there. So for me, I always, whenever I go into a turn, I look at the apex of the turn, and then I look ahead, but not too far, like right at the next turn, like the apex of the next turn, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So you're looking at apex to apex.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
How do you compensate for speed?
Yeah, and then the throttle piece, the launch control. I can't tell you how important that is, especially if you guys are getting into the 3s and the 4s. The launch control is so important. We literally spent two hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours just working on launch
Control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to hold the bike down, keep the tire down, and then engine braking into the very first turn. Learn your track, and then obviously one of the biggest things that we talked about earlier, maintenance throttle.
Yeah.
If you want to tell them about maintenance throttle.
Really, what maintenance throttle is not be jerky with the throttle. Like whenever you go into a turn, it's just like Yeah, you can do that, but it's not gonna help you in much ways. Not that I know of. It doesn't help me. You want to just hold that throttle smooth. If you take a turn too wide, then let go of the throttle and it'll tighten your line back up. But whenever you hold the throttle, you want to always try to lean further and further and further. That's pretty much maintenance throttle for me.
Yep. All right, we can go to the next one.
All right.
Hold on. Here we go. Move. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so focal points, focus field. How we covered how far to look. How far can you look? I mean, obviously that's dependent on the rider. The one thing that I wanted to really touch on is compensation for speed versus corner entry timing. This is one thing that I've seen a lot of riders do today because they think they're the next Marquez or the next, Rossi or whatever. Don't not go into the turn so hot to where you cannot compensate for the weight and the shift in the turn and your point. So when we go back to timing, at your apex entry, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of kids that go into a corner way hot, and they're doing it because they want to be faster.
Mm-hmm.
But is it really because you're faster, or do you just want to prove something, right? I mean, do you really want to get better as a rider? If you really want to get better as a rider, I think it and again, this is just me. It's what I told Garrett, is approach the corner with your speed that you're comfortable with and compensate for that speed timing. So if you want to speak to those two, because I'll start talking, but like if you just want to hit on those two bullets, like what if you're wrong too?
Oh yes, what if you're wrong and how do you adjust? If you go into a corner too slow, then just accelerate. Nobody really goes into a corner too slow. If you go into a corner too hot, however, you can't brake anymore, and what my dad told me is you lean in. Well, if you can't lean anymore, then make yourself lean and make the bike lean in. That will also help you later, and it will teach you, hey, this is how fast you're going now, and you can go faster because you were accelerating. And what happens to me is I'm not really paying attention. I'm like, oh, this is a very long straight, and I like this.
Speak from your own experience. I mean, that's
there's the turn right there at the Katy track. It's a decreasing radius in turn 1. It's just right there, and that's where I downshift. And most of the time I enter way too hot, and I just try to slide the bike with my rear brake and clutch control. Clutch control is a very, very important part of motorcycle riding, but that's later. If you go into a turn too hot, just make yourself lean. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you can do is, like Garrett said, you can lean, But the key is always safety. The key is always safety. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt anybody else. The bike is a material object. And I can't tell you guys how many times I've seen street riders just go and try to prove themselves beyond their abilities. And when you get on the track, it just, they're like below level one riders. Right. In terms of hitting the apex, talk about fighting your points during the warm-up laps. I always tell Garrett, warm up. But for advanced riders, or at least is what I did, is I find 2 or 3 different points. I talked to Garrett Gerloff when he was out there a few weeks ago, and he was sitting there telling me that, he goes out there and he rides, and there's so many laps that he does where he's just warming up, where he's just like he's looking at this point or this point or this point. What's better? What's up? Because it's not the race yet, So what am I really doing? It's like you go to the gym, right? You go to the gym, you do like a light day or a heavy day. So these are the light days. Find your points. Everybody's different. Find your approach. Your entry points are going to change with velocity, obviously. And again, like all this stuff is really just like about hitting the apex, compensation with brake throttle, combos. And I always exit hard out of the turns. He disagrees.
I disagree strongly.
I thought I'd throw that in there because it'd be good to talk about.
Yes. The reason I don't exit hard is because there are so many tracks that are just slick, super, super slick. And if you even touch the throttle the wrong way, your bike will slide out on your high side or low side. There's the reason that I don't exit hard. I exit hard in the dry. Me personally, I've never ridden in wet conditions, and I really don't want to.
But you disagree with the general exit hard concept?
Yes, just because there are tracks that are slick.
All right, fine.
And if you exit hard, you're gonna slide.
All right, we'll talk about that later. All right. Anyway, going to focus lines. Well, the learning lines are different. So Jesse, I am like so super proud of how far you've come. And seriously, seeing your triangulation and your body pattern, your body position, that was pretty awesome. But that's a prime example where if you follow somebody's lines, yeah, you're gonna learn the lines, but are you necessarily going to be doing the best thing for you?
Yep.
Probably not. Right? You might be.
Yeah.
Because you chased Cody. Right?
I chased Cody, yes.
But more so, I really want to focus on what I want to end this on is, and I always get kind of essential. Claudio, you can talk to Jason about this because he always hates this about me. I always say, remember the good, forget the bad. Easy for everybody to say, but it's not easy to do. Always come home, write down things that you guys did every single day. I did this when I was writing, and I had to mentor me or show me. I did that for myself. And when I say forget the bad, I go back to the slide and I say, just like that golf swing, forget what you did wrong. It doesn't matter. Remember what's good. 2, 3 things, and repeat that. Whether it's braking, rear brake, rear slide, throttle, whatever. Or even if it's remembering what the bubble in the corner feels like. Hold your line. I not begin to tell you guys how much I've hammered this year. Hold your line and defend the line and be smart about it. And when I say that, what I mean is this. keep people away from you. What was that? Anyway, keep people away from you, but do it the right way. Do it safely. And so when you hold your line, what you do is, and I tell Garrett this all the time. When you hold your line, you're defending your position, but you're also showing another rider that may be right behind you what the right line is. And when you defend it, you're also defend it in the right way. That means not kicking your leg out, not doing things that you should be doing if you don't know what you so anyway, anything else to add, Garrett?
Yeah, the defend the line, but be smart about it. If somebody's coming up next to you in a turn and you're trying to turn in, let them pass. If you know that you're faster than that person, let them pass, and then you can regain your position. And that, at least that's what I do. I don't know if that would help you guys, but.
Yep. You go to the next one. They're probably so sick of hearing us.
Yep.
No, it's all good. This is great stuff, man. I'm so glad that you guys joined in.
Thank you, man. So I wanted to end this, and Garrett put this together because we talked, and just something to take away, to ask yourself. Can I do something different here? Start from the bottom. All right. So if you challenge a point on anything, right? No worries. It's cool. Like if you think I'm wrong, if you think Garrett's wrong, if you think something that you believe is wrong, but challenge it. But find an alternative. Everything that I say at work to my team always says, and several people will tell you this, and you guys have heard this before. Find an alternative solution and then tell me what that may look like. But tell that to yourself, because at the end of the day, when you ride, when you're on the track, that is you and the bike. You are your own demon. And don't let the bike conquer you. We all sit there and ride for one reason. The one reason is we want to be in control of something, which is not a bad thing, but we do it right. So, for instance, the Ross angle. Heck, he did that, and then everybody else started doing it. But now 1,800 different people do it for 1,800 different reasons. Right? So what's your reason? So I'll go back now to the top and let Garrett work down and talk about, Garrett, if you would, your milestones. What were your milestones? How did you get there? And then down the list.
All right. My milestones were when I first started riding, breaking that minute barrier. Once I broke it, I was like, okay, I've done that. Now let's work on to the 50-second. Broke the 50-second. Now I'm
lap time.
cruising. Right. Yeah. Lap times, first knee drag, first elbow drag, heck, first shoulder drag, first crash.
That's actually an important one.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's key for a lot of people.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
The first crash is so important.
Yes, and the first crash is always the scariest. But once you get it out of the way, it's like, okay, well.
And honestly, that is something that Cody. That's something Cody showed us. We went to his house and we, he was telling us how he would crash on purpose, just to know, even if it was just on an old 50cc dirt bike, just go crash it. Go ahead, son.
Right. How did I get there? In my
your milestone. So each milestone.
Yeah. So I'm gonna work on the breaking of 50. I'm gonna talk about breaking that 50-second barrier. I got there by practicing. Practicing is key. Getting home and studying track maps, riding different tracks, speed sports. We were thinking of maybe Crescent, MSR. MSR I don't like for a number of different reasons that I'm pretty sure you guys can agree with me.
I can't, like, just to touch on his point real quick. Stop. How did you get that point? I cannot emphasize how important it is for somebody to go home and study a track map. Just like NFL players review plays, just like coaches go over it time and time and time again. I do that. I do that just for Garrett because I feel like I am his coach, and so I tell him, and when I coached him in flag football, I went over these plays a million times in my head, and I know how it's supposed to play out. So when I go out to Katie on Sunday, or when I go to MSRH, or when I go to Speed Sports, I know what he's supposed to do. I know what the play looks like at the end. So I study. And then I tell him to study and study and study. But what that does, again, going back to one of the very first things that I said, it goes to sequential cognitive thought. Yourself, almost like a robot. It's you know what's supposed to happen and when what to do. But yeah. In terms of writing style, let's just touch real quick.
Yeah,
this is one of your favorites.
Oh wow! Here's my favorite. My writing style is my writing style. You guys' writing style is your writing style. If you want to write like somebody, then like I always tried to write like Marquez. Yes, and then I realized this sucks. I cannot exactly mimic Marquez's writing style. I need to work on my own writing style. And yeah, you can take bits and pieces from different people, like the Rossi leg dangle. I use that sometimes. Marquez is scoot up on the tank and let the rear tire go crazy. I also use that too. So there's different bits and pieces that you can take from different riders to make your own collage of just this ball of this creation that you've made of different riding styles of MotoGP, of bikes, whatever you guys ride. You can take different riding styles and apply them to mini bikes, apply them to big bikes, apply them to Jesse, your Ninja 250. You can take, because whenever you have that riding style is yours. Nobody else in the world has your riding style.
Yep.
They can try, but they're not going to have
Do you remember how ticked off I was at you? You told me I want to ride like Marc Marquez.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
I like that you also correlate that with the bike type, because a supermoto bike is a dirt bike and it doesn't have a gas tank on it. You ride a very different style to get the best out of you and the bike than you would for a dedicated like GP bike that has a different architecture under it. So it's melding and taking the best parts of both to get the best performance overall. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Mike. And that's exactly why, if you go back one slide, you'll see why I put those two pictures up. Because that's when he was riding the sumo. And you can see the difference in the body position where you lean back on one and sit down into a turn versus lean in and elbow forward.
You can also see the differences and the similarities. Those are both turned for at Katie. Pictures.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one is on a motard and one is on the Ovale.
So just to kind of close up on our end, and sorry for being long-winded.
You're good, man.
I just urge you guys, and take it from a guy that has ridden so long. I'm 43 years old. I've ridden since I was 12, and I've seen a lot of bad things happen, both on the street as well as the track. But I can't tell you how good the community, or how better the community has gotten, thanks to stuff like this, thanks to what folks like Claudio are doing. But just to hit on the second to the last point, if you want to challenge anything anybody tells you, not just myself or Garrett or is ask yourself, well, what's the alternative? Because at the end of the day, it's you and the bike on a track. Yes, there are other people, but at the end of the day, it is you and the bike on track. That's what I keep telling my son. Garrett's 13. He's my firstborn. I love him. I love him just like I love Levi. I would never tell him anything wrong. But I've told him, like I told his brother, there's things that I can't teach you. You're gonna have to learn, right? And so you guys are amazing. Like honestly, just watching Jesse come up in 3 weeks.
I don't know.
What is it, Jesse? 4 weeks? He blew my mind.
Like five track days.
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
track days. At the
And-
minute, it was like 5.
Yeah, and then Garrett, he's been riding for 7 years, but he's only been on the track for
6 months.
6 months, and he's 2 seconds behind Cody. 4.
4 seconds.
4.
4 seconds.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. Anyway, whatever. But what I urge you to do is just challenge yourself and say, there's not going to be an answer that somebody can tell me all the time, because these are some of the hardest conversations that we've had as father and son, because I try to, I think I know everything, but he's his own person, and you guys are your own people. You know when to drop that knee. You know what it feels like, what that vibration feels like on the elbow, on the knee, on the bike, on the handlebars. You know what it feels like to run. But ask yourself, and when you do your homework and you start studying track maps,
Yes, that is a very, very important part of it.
it's like, I've been here before.
Mhm.
What have I always told you? Act like what?
Act like you've been there before. First time I showed up at Speed Sports, it was just like, I love it, I love it, I love it. Dad's like, act like you've been there before. Okay, I rocked it.
So that's it, guys.
That is
On our
so
part.
great. Yeah,
Awesome. That was great, guys. I appreciate being able to hear your perspectives and everything. I've already got a lot of just listening to you, things I hadn't thought about before that I'm going to go back and bring to my next track day. So
Good.
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, this is all great. Thanks for sharing, guys. I mean, as you all were talking, I was like taking notes for things that I wanted to visit. Like, I definitely like the. Are you guys getting an echo?
Yeah, we're gonna go.
Okay,
A little bit.
coming from.
Why don't you mute? You gotta mute it.
Hey, Claudio, you're muted. There you go.
Oh, all right, thank you. It muted myself. I don't know where it happened. Okay. So yeah, I definitely like the points that you guys raised about challenging something. The thing that I've been challenging the most is the idea that in order to become a better rider, a faster rider, what you need is seat time. Seat time. It's always about seat time. That's how I read a more experienced rider, whether that person wants to help me or not. If they say, "Oh, what you need is seat time," I know it's like the keyword for just piss off, just get away
Yeah,
from me,
pretty much.
right?
Yeah.
Because just going to the track and riding around in circles without going with the plan, without thinking about what you are doing, without doing your homework, like you guys are saying, without studying track maps, without taking mental laps around the track, you're not really getting any better, right?
You're
Um,
right. It's like somebody telling you to live life, and you're asking them, how do you live life, and how do you succeed in life? And they tell you, well, just live life.
yeah, it's like, well, how do I know what's working, what's not working? I'm just getting out
Exactly.
there and, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, of course, you do need to take a seat time. Otherwise, like the corollary to that is to like study all the track maps, watch all the videos, but never actually riding it. Well,
Yep.
right? You need to do both, right? And the point that I always make to everybody is, it always starts with the mind. So that's the one thing that I've really been practicing very hard over the last 3 years, which is when I'm back home, I'm watching the videos, I'm sitting on the chair, and I'm leaning into the corners as I'm watching the video. So when
Mm.
I wrote this down, where Michael said, you started working on your body setup when you got to level 3, that was actually one point that I started working on in level 1, thanks to Life at Lean, right? That was the kind of feedback that I got from Dan at Life at Lean, where I sent him some of my video footage from instructors that were following me. And then Dan said, well, you need to do, some work on your body setup, the preparation going into corners. So I
Mm.
banged that in my head. And then as I was watching the videos, I started like, okay, here comes a left turn. So I need to move my body off the seat, go on the brakes, leaning to the corner, all those things, like doing that sitting in my house, watching the TV. By the time I was doing that at the track, I had already internalized that. It's like, oh, I've done this before, even though I was doing, sitting back home. So those mental tricks that you can do, it's not about seat time. It's about,
It's not.
mind, right?
Yeah. You have no idea how dead on you are with that, because when you sit there and you go through things in your head, I mean, Claudio, you know this. I mean, you've spoken in front of the same crowd that I've spoken about.
Right.
If you go through this in your head, if you really want to get good, I tell Garrett, the only thing I could tell Garrett is act like you've been there before. When I say act like you've been there before, it's A, don't get anxious. And the only way to not get anxious, in my mind, is to know your audience. And in terms of a bike and racing, your audience is a track.
Yeah.
You know it, you know where the pitfalls are, you know where the corners are, what the angles are, the everything about the track. If it means go and you know an hour before you're supposed to be there, you go and you walk the track and you find every nuance of that track. That's what differentiates champions from mediocrity.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that was another point that you guys brought up. Do the warm-up lap, look up and, find your points. This is something that I've also noticed that, at most track day organizations, they have the first session being the round robin session, right? Where everybody goes slow, everybody following the coach. And I know, that a lot of riders, as they move up the ranks, they skip round robin because it's like, oh, that's the going slow app, behind. I'm like, no, I'm totally doing that because that's my chance to get back on the bike after a while, stretching my body on the bike, feeling what the the bike feels like after a while, taking, those laps at a slow pace where I can actually take the time to look up and look down the track, look at those reference marks. Is there like a cell phone tower? Is there like a patch on the ground? Whatever it is, look around.
Yes.
Not feel you're going
Yes.
slow. As you pick up speed, forget it. You're not going to be able to find anything,
Yep.
right? So that to me has been extremely helpful. Even like as I started running a 360 camera a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, that was another thing that I started using, right? I get some 360-degree footage from my camera, and then I come back home, I put my VR headset, and I'm taking those laps. It's so immersive because now I can start like looking around and like, I had never seen that, corner working, station there before. Where was I looking, right?
Yep.
So you start seeing things that you were not seeing before.
Yeah. I mean, some of the things that Michael, you, Jesse. I mean, you guys are really like honestly incredible riders, and I'm, for all intents and purposes, I'm a fart. I mean, I can, yeah, I can handle, a minute track lap, whatever. But my goal is to not. I want to teach Garrett everything the right way. If everything was, or if there's anything in his mind that was bad, I want to kind of erase it. Which sadly, because of him riding straight before, he did pick up bad habits. But for the most part, I've erased it. But you guys have come so far, so long. I mean, in such a short amount of time. And dude, like legit, that's I can't tell you how impressed I am with you guys. So kudos, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much. It's again the idea of going back to the fact that we don't make a living out of this. So, I mean, we pretty much have each other to get better at this,
Yep.
right? We have so many coaches around us, right? We cannot afford like one, one-on-one coach for a lifetime, the person who's going to be watching you grow and following you at every step of the way. So we need to somehow like, spread the coaching capabilities around for the people around us, because we come from different backgrounds. Like, there are things that I started, practicing or learning more in level 2, while, maybe Michael was already mastering that in level 1, and vice versa. We come from different backgrounds. We focus on different things. So, but we have each other to learn from. So, like other points that as you guys were talking, that I was like taking note here, like Jesse mentioned, leaning the bike, on the track. So I remember I actually dragged bike parts before I dragged knee. When it happened, I thought that I was dragging my knee. It was at TWS. I was actually dragging the foot peg, right, on my CBR. And that was a byproduct of my bad body position, because I was not moving off the bike enough. So I was just compensating with leaning the bike really far. And then, of course, listening to other riders, they were like, well, yeah, man, you need to get off the bike more, because that way, less lean angle. Never else I dragged bike parts, because I fixed the body position in that sense. As far as like the riding style, I like how you guys put it, because at the track, everybody wanna ride like Lorenzo, like Rossi, like Marquez, but everybody has a different stature, a different bike, different ergonomics. So shouldn't really mimic those guys. And I've seen some folks at the track where on the photos they do look like Marquez. It's like, holy cow, that guy looks amazing. But when you look at the video footage, and I have some of that footage, the guy's like going 3 miles away from the apex. He's looking like Marquez, but he's almost running off the track.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, you know, as he's doing that business, I'm taking him on the inside and disappearing, right? So it's not the point. Looking that great is not the point. It's about being
That's what
comfortable,
Garrett did.
right?
Garrett's
Because
Garrett's Garrett's
yeah,
first frame of reference. Garrett's first frame of reference beyond me when he first started riding was playing MotoGP on his video game thing or
right,
his Xbox. And I was like, really? That's your frame of reference? I'm like, so I'm sitting there like thinking, and I'm looking at him, and he looks like a spider monkey hanging off of a bike. And I'm going, dude, freaking clutch in, pull, turn, and bear.
right.
And then he went,
You
who
know,
knew?
one of my favorite things to see is like being at the track and then seeing this one guy who's taking a corner, looking pretty much like Marquez, and then seeing a faster, older rider all crossed up going around the guy on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is
Oh, that happened to
so
me.
much fun. It's at that point,
Yeah. I had a guy on a Ninja 250
the
pass
body. You
range. And I was
guys still hear me?
and I
Oh,
was
there you go.
yeah, I was sitting there just like on my prime, pulled down, and this guy on a 250 just one-handed. Boom! Like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened here? I pulled over.
There-
But yeah.
Yep. Let's see some other things that I wrote down. Like you guys mentioned the where to look, where you're looking. Also, something that I got from the courses at Life at Lean, the four reference marks that we need on the track, right? Your break point, your turning point, your apex, and your exit point. So as soon as you find the next point and you know that you're going to make to that point, look to the next one. So you found your break marker, look to your turning point. You found your turning point, you know that you're going to hit it, look at the apex. You found the apex, you know you're going to hit the apex, look at the exit of the corner. And that's as I've been practicing that, that becomes more important than looking at the next corner, because first you need to exit the one that you're in. Once you found the exit point, which is usually like the candy stripe, like the opposing one, okay, I found it. All right, now look ahead and look for the next corner.
Have you? So one of my points was it's a challenge, what you know, right? And this is what I tell Jared all the time. Have you looked at videos or some of the pictures of the kids or the guys that when they take these pictures, where they're actually looking? If you look inside their eyes in the reflection, they're not looking at the turn ahead. They're looking 2, 3 turns ahead.
Right.
Even before they lock on the first. So the mindset that I tell Garrett is this, is once you get better and faster, right? Once you get better and faster, you're ideally anticipating every single corner. So why do you need to go with the same visual patterns that got you lap times last time? You want to try? Are you literally drinking Diet Coke out of a freaking 2-liter bottle, Mike?
I don't want to have to get up for a refill. I don't want to miss this.
Good God, bro. Anyway, sorry, dude. I was like,
Trust me, you don't have to watch me pee into it.
no.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, no, like the point of me saying sorry. The point of me saying that is that when you look 2, 3 ahead, you program your mind. You can actually reverse program your mind into cadence, into 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I go, okay, turn 1 into Katie. All right, turn 1, 2, 3. And I know that it's going to take me a 3 count or a 4 count to go into turn 2, 3, and 4. Reduce it, right?
Yeah.
So like always anticipate and look ahead further. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Back it up, right?
Yeah, you do need. I mean, you do get to that point as you get consistency, right? It's like playing the guitar, right? You need to know note for note what is the next note, what is the next note. Once you get into that cadence, you know you're gonna hit those marks, right? So I it's the same thing on the track, I guess.
Yep.
Once you
It's
have that
scale.
consistent beat, you just go.
Everything's a scale.
Yeah. That is very cool. What else did I? Oh, the point that Garrett was bringing up, like I found interesting that he said, nobody goes slow into a corner. I do, and when that happens, I make a mistake. So what happens is, I shave off too much speed, and then in order to make it to the apex, I have to crank the throttle open just enough to make it to the apex. And usually what that makes is for me to go wide, right? So I make a mental note that the next time around I can carry a little more speed so that it's going to take me to the apex, and then I can crank the throttle open. Right? And that catches me a lot, like in double apex corners, where sometimes I shave way too much speed, and then I have to crank up the throttle to go past the first apex, but then, stall on the throttle before it messes me up. And then I'm like, no, I can carry a little more speed into the first apex, trail brake, and then crack the throttle open, and then continue on. But it's one of those, you have to be thinking about what you are doing. It's like, okay, last time to that corner, I had to pick up the throttle too soon. Next time, a little more speed, right?
And you're never going to get it if you don't do your track homework. If you don't do your math, you don't do your maps, and you sit there and you're like, okay, the what ifs. All right, so next time I'm going to hit this and launch. See what happens.
Yeah.
Jared Gerloff is over there pulling 38-second laps. 38-second laps.
Holy cow.
And 4 tube on an R3.
That is ridiculous.
When I went there, it was Stan and Callum. They were there. They're going to be racing with Garrett this weekend. But Stan told me that he was there the night before, and I went and talked to him. He was like, "Oh yeah." He was like, "Well, he wrecked 3 times on this was corner 2," and I was like, "Okay, well, you shouldn't be wrecking, right? I mean," but I went and talked to him after the fact, and Caleb was there too, and both those guys, and they were so sweet, awesome guys. And I told Garrett, I was like, he tells me that you were wrecking on this. He was like, "Yeah, I was." I was like, "Wait, on purpose?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Go look on the track," and I was like, and he was marking his lines with the rear tire on the turn, rear sliding, see which one stuck. And he's like, "Oh, I was just seeing which one stuck." I'm like, he's like, "There's going to be a lot more tonight, or a lot more wrecks tonight for me." I was like, "You're kidding me."
Oh,
yeah, that's just how dedicated, man. I mean, when you go into a corner going, I'm going to boom, and you pull through, that's when you know you got it. That's your line. But yeah.
Yep. That's great stuff. Love it. Love it. Very cool. Well, let's see. Let me just share my screen back up here just so that we can wrap things up. And here we go. Yep. So we should be probably chatting over the next couple of weeks and figure out what the topic should be for next month. to see what kind of content do we either want to create or people that we may want to reach out to. Like Michael brought up that maybe it would be good to get some female riders join us here to talk about their experiences, and hopefully over time, encourage more riders to join us on track. I think that's a great idea. So I have a couple of people that I'll be reaching out to, inviting them to maybe join us next month or the month after. Let's try to get those things going. Other than that, any parting thoughts, guys?
Hey, I just have a quick question. Who's going to SRH in 2 weeks? I think Jesse's going to be back by then. I will be heading out. I think it's only a single track day, so we won't get enough time. But
Right.
I'm not gonna go. I'm probably gonna go to Katy that weekend instead.
yeah, okay. I'll check. I still need to check and see if there's any canopies available. We need any.
Yeah.
We're going to be at TMGP this weekend in Katy, so
That's right. Yeah, for me, as I've been considering, going back out at least to the Katy track, then the transmission on my car is, taking a dump on me. So I need to figure that stuff out first. Gotta take it to the shop, and I've done that transmission about 2 years ago. I think I've put like 25,000 miles on it. Lots of like hauling a bunch of stuff to the track, right? I mean, that was like almost all of those miles were me, driving to the track with the bike on the back and a lot of gear. So it took a toll on the transmission, and now it's like slipping pretty bad. So I do need to take it to the shop and get that worked out before I think about putting some load on the car and hauling.
Going to bar.
Yeah, going to barber, exactly. Oh yeah, not happening. So,
By the way, thank you for the cards, Claudio.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I
I mean,
started writing a lot of this out, so good
right,
stuff.
perfect. I mean, yeah, thank you guys for passing those around, and hopefully getting more people to hear about the thing we do here. And over time, we get more people sharing their experiences. We get more people that we are helping to get safer out there. So it's all
yeah,
great.
dude. Like honestly, like legit, like this is really really good, and I'm so glad you guys are doing this, and you, Claudio, especially. It's fortuitous because when I wanted to get riding, there was nothing like it, and people usually give it bad advice, and it's good to have this forum and to see Garrett like actually being able to teach back to younger riders, or just share his experience, good, wrong, right, or indifferent. I don't know. It's just it's a good forum, and so thanks for doing that, man. It's good.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Always great to hear feedback from folks, knowing for us knowing that we are helping them out. I know that I get a lot out of it. Sometimes either hearing from other writers, sometimes just slowing down my thoughts to articulate my experiences, my learnings to others, that also help me just solidify the learnings. So it's all good. So thank you guys very much for joining in, contributing with content, listening in. This is all recorded. It's for the internet, so the video should be up, sometime later tonight, and it will be available to whoever needs to catch up with this content later. And other than that, I hope to see you guys back here in August or at the track, whichever comes first. I'll catch you guys later.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.